Hi, this is Katie Sipp from Hack the Union, and I'm joined today by Andrea Dehlendorf from Organization United for Respect, a worker center that's been organizing workers in Walmarts all around the country. And she's joined me today to talk about a sort of recent activity that they've launched, which involves an app and sort of new ways of organizing workers who are in stores across the country, but not necessarily in the same store as each other, through using technology. So welcome to Hack the Union, Andrea.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and appreciate the work that you do to lift up innovations in technology and organizing.
Yeah, and I'm super excited about your new app. I think, you know, it was very exciting to me to hear that you had launched this innovation that combines both sort of, sort of high-tech artificial intelligence, but also with the common sense intelligence that exists within workers across the Walmart supply chain. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, sort of how you came to create this app. What were some of the things that led up to the decision to launch the app and, the design of it?
Great. So, I've been a traditional union organizer for most of my life. I spent almost 20 years at a combination of different unions. And when we started talking with Walmart workers about the kind of organization that they wanted, so this was back about 5 years ago, we approached it in a very traditional way. We had organizers who went out and you talked to people and, in their homes and church basements, doing phone calls. And very quickly we started noticing how that the people who work at Walmart themselves were really using technology in a different way than any of us could have anticipated to connect to each other, support each other, and to build communities of organizing and action. And so, we really started to adapt our model based on listening to and hearing from our base, which was really exciting. When we first started, I had a Facebook page, and I knew enough to know that we could have an organizational Facebook page, but really quickly was schooled, frankly, by our members who said to me, well, why aren't we doing this? And why don't we have private groups? And I just went ahead and started a private group, and I didn't even know what those things were. And so throughout the few years of building and supporting workers to build this organization, we started building both organizing flows and engagement, and sort of changed how we approached organizing to meet how people themselves were really using the tools available to them, and then realized that there was a limit to the existing tools, and that Facebook could do a certain amount of things to help people connect and support each other and build communities of action. But really, there was a lot that was getting lost. And so we did a big listening project where we talked to thousands of people around what they really wanted and needed from the organization. And they all told us, we need support around the daily issues and challenges that happen to us at work. And so we had we built a team of people who work at Walmart, who are leaders and members of the organization, and built and designed our own digital platform that leverages artificial intelligence and this big network that we have of volunteer leaders to, on people's phone, give immediate real-time answers around workplace challenges. So if you're in Alabama and you call in sick because your kid is in the hospital and you're scared you're going to get written up, you can go onto your phone, ask Workit is what the platform is called, and say, hey, what do I do to make sure I don't get a point for calling in sick to take my kid to the hospital? And a coworker who maybe works in Alaska will see that pop up on their screen and will respond. Sometimes the AI will respond, sometimes the peer will respond to help you figure out what the policy is, if there are any legal rights that you're entitled to give you protection, so that you can go in and assert your rights and have, frankly, more job stability at work. And, what for me is really exciting about it is that this was, even though it's sophisticated technology, we're using IBM's Watson artificial intelligence program. It's all powered by people who are doing the work and powered by the base, which is really a core value for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a super interesting part of this program because I think obviously you folks are not a union and you don't have a contract that people can enforce, but it is sort of building on this type of structure that unions use with shop stewards who are sort of the first line of answering questions for members about their specific contract. And, you know, I think that that is, you know, a huge strength of the traditional labor movement is that it is like put power for workplace enforcement, at least the front line of workplace enforcement, into the hands of rank and file members. And this is the sort of a great twist on that for, you know, for a worker center in my perspective. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how you know, got word out to the workers about the app, and you know, what's been the sort of adoption rate like? Are people downloading it and using it? How's it working out?
Yeah, I mean, it's working out really well. A lot of the adoption is frankly happening word of mouth. So people are posting about the tool on their own Facebook pages, sending it to friends and relatives in their networks through Messenger, text, you know, all the ways that people use technology. And they're also talking to their coworkers about it in real time in their stores. You know, on top of that, you know, we are doing what we traditionally do, which is push it out through our social media feeds. We've got a Facebook page that has 50,000 people who either currently or formerly worked at Walmart, and so we promote it on that page, and then also work with our leaders and with community partners who want to support on actually going out to the stores and giving people information, you know, giving them a little palm card that tells them. And you know, again, that's been an ongoing value of the campaign for us, or of building the organization, is how are we, you know, we're not replacing in-person communication and touch with social media and online, but rather it's complementary. And so when we build and design the different features of Work It, we bring leaders together from around the country to train, for example, the AI Codex. We held a content hackathon where members from around the country came together to brainstorm all of the questions and all of the right answers. And then those folks then became evangelists for the platform and went out to promote it and to tell their peers and coworkers, and promoted it on the page. So again, it's really this interplay for us between the sort of the on the ground connection and the ways in which we can layer on technology to really scale and advance that.
Cool. And in terms of building the actual technology product, I mean, what did you hire outside developers, or what, you know, was it something that you had already inside your core capacity as an organization? Did you, you know, get a kind of pro bono operation to help with the development? I mean, I think that a lot of folks really will be interested in hearing a little bit about how you took it from a vision to a actual, you know, at least minimum viable product that then enabled you to raise money to build it fully.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we've had this idea for a few years. It came out of a listening project that we did 2 years ago, and you know, had to make a tough decision around how we spent our resources. And I think, you know, a lot of times for labor organizations, we're so strapped around just, you know, doing the core work that it's hard to imagine shifting to do the resources.
We're going to suddenly invest in Watson.
We just decided that we didn't have a choice, and that we really had to do it, and that we couldn't, we're never going to staff our way to be able to talk to workers in 5,000 stores, but
right.
Technology can get the support that we have to provide into people's hands if we use technology creatively. And so we just made a decision to do a robust investment in building this platform. And so we hired a chief technology officer, which is a very unusual thing for a labor organization to do. Often, we think of our tech staff as being people who will, fix our computers and get our emails set up, right? But we really hired somebody and said, you're not doing any of that. All all that you're going to do is work on, building this platform. And we partnered with an amazing developer who's done some really great work for the ACLU on their mobile justice app, and just put a big investment in to be able to do it. We probably spent about 10 to 15% of our budget on developing this platform over the last year. And now, we're really, really proud of what we've built. And we're also offering it as a white label license to other worker organizations, whether it's unions or other worker organizations, whether it might be a state agency that might be interested in licensing it to be able to provide workplace enforcement services. So so that's what we did.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Do you have a sense of, sort of what you'd like to build next, whether that's within the current app, or maybe you have a, new idea for some other kind of platform that you're thinking about, or has it, the ways that workers use it evolved over the period since you launched it to now?
Yeah, that's a great question. What we're learning around this and other things that we've done is that people will use the products that are available to them in ways that might be different and from what the original intention was. So right now we're really listening to and watching how people use it. We know that we need to offer it, and the next phase of development is going to include full Spanish language integration so that it's available seamlessly to people in Spanish and then other languages. We are also plan to integrate Facebook Messenger and text Messenger into the service so that you don't have to download an app to be able to use it, but rather can use it how you generally use your phone. And then we're really interested in the question of, is it possible to then layer on additional services that we can distribute through this platform? So, looking at whether it's workforce development or financial services that would provide people, better, less predatory access to credit or to banking, and then also whether or not there's legal services that we could similarly provide that could be leveraged through technology and AI to augment what's currently available. So we're going to be doing a lot of testing and exploring around what those things might be, and then really focusing on getting it out to other folks for whom this could be a really valuable tool for interaction with their base.
That's super interesting. I mean, I think one of the other, we talked a little bit about the peer model of question answering and, how that kind of came out of workers using technology to communicate in ways that you as an organizer didn't particularly, predict would happen. I wonder if you've thought about or have examples of, ways that you've used technology, whether this app or the previous things that you've been using, to do leadership development. Because I think that obviously, as you point out, you're facing, the largest private sector employer in the entire country. So, again, having a sort of army of rank and file members who are well trained and have the confidence that they need to actually assert their own rights in the workplace is super important. So how are some ways that you've used technology to train people or to get them ready to be in, slightly uncomfortable to really uncomfortable situations, I would ask?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is that we find that we are really able to identify people who want to take more leadership and get more involved through how people relate and interact through our social media spaces. So whether it's our pages or our groups or people following up on Hustle, which is an amazing distributive peer texting platform that we use. So we're really able to see where people starting to take more leadership, and then we really invite them into, and this is not particularly high tech, but into actual leadership summits where we invite in to come and spend 2 or 3 days, sharing experiences, connecting with other people, and learning really concrete skills that they can apply and go back with. And where the technology becomes really helpful around this is one, like I said, Hustle is just an incredible tool because it enables us to feed lists of people who've said, I want more information, or I want to be a part of this campaign. And it's really an overwhelming number. I mean, just, every week we've got, thousands of people who are doing emailing something to indicate interest with us online. And we're able to use technology to distribute those contacts to the leaders who are then able to do the follow-up and talk to people, which is a huge development opportunity for them. The second thing is that a lot of times, people will think about social media and Facebook as a way to push out information, right? Like we're gonna feed.
Right, it's like a press release or something.
Like a press release, right? So here's our message. We're sending it out through social media, and then others will take that a step further and say we can identify contacts and find people through social media. But for us, the real power of it is it actually facilitates actual peer organization. And so we now have all these different Facebook groups, and we run our leadership teams on Facebook. And so we have a national organizing committee, and it's got people from all around the country, and they're making decisions, they're doing polling, they're vetting public materials that we put out or statements that the organization puts out. And then we complement that with using video technology. And so we have just last night, we had a set of, I think, 3 national video conference calls where leaders called in to deliberate and talk about our plans to go to Walmart's annual general membership meeting. And we find that it both facilitates organization, but also a way for people to stay connected and bonded. I think that in a lot of times when folks are working on efforts that require like really sustained engagement over a long period of time, it can be hard to maintain that kind of connective tissue between people. And we find that when people are on social media together and in a group, they're both deliberating around the organization, but then they're also seeing the births of children, right, the passing of parents, and so there's like this sort of love and community bonding that happens that that people who might meet each other once every 2 years at a leadership training stay connected and a part of people's lives through social media. And that is very really an important part, I think, of leadership development, is how do we sustain and nurture people to be able to continue to be part of the fights that take a very long time sometimes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that might be a topic for a whole other conversation, but the sort of ways that social media has allowed, I stopped being a local union officer 4 years ago, and I still, have a ton of Facebook friends who are the members of my union and other locals in Pennsylvania that I stay in touch with through social media, and, sort of democratizes the organizer member relationship too, to a certain pretty incredible extent, which is, I think, a positive, sort of move forward for the movement.
And I just want to say something about that, because what this really does is it just flattens the whole structure,
right?
Where there's no layers of, I am, co-director of this national organization, but I am chatting on Facebook all the time with members all around the country in a way that, the way that I would have approached the work 10 years ago in this level of a position, I would never have had that kind of deep connection to our base. And so it means that leaders really are driving and defining the program, and that our staff structure is just completely flattened. And it's really enabled leaders to just have much more say and just be much more reflected in the organization than more sort of vertically hierarchical models.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's really really important. And, it requires, it demands a certain amount of integrity in doing the work, to be completely honest, which is, I think, something that we should all be striving for. Yeah. All right, well, that was super interesting to hear about. I'm gonna put the website on the bottom of this video, so folks who are interested will be able to check out. Any final thoughts before we close out?
No, just appreciate this conversation. I think that we're in a pretty existential moment right now for the future of the labor movement, and really diving in to explore how all of this can be in the service of expanding rights for people in low-wage work is really, really critical. So thanks for your work in contributing to keeping this conversation moving.
All right, thanks. And thank you again to Andrea Dehlendorf from Organization United for Respect.